Here we are at week 9 of Music Makers at the Keyboard Year 1. And I'm going to go down the home assignment, and I'm going to start by seeing it says to warm up in C, D, and G position. I'm going to place my right hand on C and do the warm up. Then the left hand. Then I'm going to warm up in the D position. And the left hand. And now the G position. And the left hand. Next, it says, Ode to Joy, practice disc 1, number 11, which is track 11. So I'm going to go now over to the track, and I'm going to listen to it. They may not need to listen to it all the time, but they should at least listen to it once.
Ode to Joy in D major position.
So first you hear the piece being played, the right hand's playing the melody, the left hand is playing chords, and I'm going to start to urge the children and encourage them to start adding chords in their left hand. That would be the final result of the work that they've been doing. But every child is on their own path of development. So for some children, it may only be listening to the CD and responding to the patterns this way.
Mi, mi, fa, sol.
Mi, mi, fa, so.
Mi, mi, fa, sol.
Mi, mi, fa, so.
So, fa, mi, re.
So, fa, mi, re.
So, fa, mi, re.
So, fa, mi, re.
Do, do, re, mi.
Do, do, re, mi.
Do, do, re, mi.
Do, do, re, mi.
Mi, re, re.
Mi, re, re.
Mi, re, re.
Mi, re, re.
Re, do, do.
Re, do, do.
Re, do, do.
Re, do, do. So, do this at least once with the CD this week. However, some of the children have started to link the patterns to create and I'm looking for them to be able to do that when they come back to class. Some of the children may want to add chords, and the chords they might add will be this chord or this chord. This chord we call the tonic chord or the 1 chord. This we call the dominant chord or the 5/7 chord. And when they add to it, it gives a nice quality. Notice I'm placing them where I want to hear them. They could also do this. Or they may end up doing this. may only use one chord as they're going through. It depends on their ear and how they learn to refine it. Then the next step would be that they would try it in C position, and they could try it in G position. Some of the children may also be ready to play the full chord, which uses the Mi in the middle. And then they may be starting to move into the full 5/7 chord. That depends on the size of their hand. If their hand is too tiny and they can't reach this comfortably, then I'm going to suggest that they only use these chords. All right, next they've been asked to play the mystery song on page 22. Here's the piece on page 22, and this is considered their first reading piece. Although some children have seen song pages before in other years in music makers around the world. But for the child that just may be walking in off the street and this is their first experience with this program, this is their first reading piece. We've been exploring these patterns, so, mi, do, on the blue notation cards. So, do, 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 do. And during class, we found them, we circled them, we identified them, we sang them. And then I let the children sing it through, and then they figured out that the name of the piece was Mousie. And then they wanted to go to the piano and play Mousie right away. Now, what I did for them, though, was to ask them to keep their eye on the music. Now, are they actually reading the music? They're more playing from the familiarness of their hands on the piano. So what I asked them to do was to practice keeping their eye on the music, and I covered their hands. You don't have to cover their hands, but I am going to, from this point on, insist that when they have a reading piece that they are reading with their eye, and I'll be using some sort of a pencil to help them follow along as they are. So we're practicing tracking. Most children will not sing along, but some will. So, mi, do. And of course, they're always going to add that at the end. We're at the next part of the home assignment, and it says new hot cross buns. Don't worry, that was a mistake. This is an old hot cross buns. They do it in 3 keys, C, D, and G. And also, they're going to start adding chords to it. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, here we have hot cross buns with the added chords. Or they might do. Or they might do. Or they might do. Or they may do any arrangement. Whatever they do to add chords is absolutely fine. Then they'll try it in C, and they'll try it in G. And then they can go on and review songs in C, G, and D. And of course, they should be using their cards, which they have in their basket. And they're going to add the new one, which is Ode to Joy. As you can see, there's a lot now in here. We've got Stars Shining, Who's That, Hot Cross Buns, Ode to Joy, Wild Horses, Deb Kahora, Listen for Bells, and Mousie. They're creating quite a repertoire of sound in 3 different keys. And now on top of it, I'm asking them to start adding chords to the melody. A lot going on in 9 weeks. Finally, they have a triple notation game. And to do that, they're going to have to go into their card file and pull out their new green triple rhythm cards. This is what they look like. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've only reviewed the first 4 in class. I did a little bit of 5 and 6. And these are the cards that they've received. So I'm going to ask them to play the game with the CD. The CD is very, very clear about what to do. They do it once, twice, 3 times, or until they feel mastery with these. These say do, da, dee, do. Those are the sounds. Do, da, dee, do, da, dee. do, D, do, D. Do, do. Do, ta, dee, do. Do, da, do, da. And they're going to become very familiar with these. Once they've done that, which only takes a moment, then they open up their book and they go to page 23. And they're going to copy their blue melody cards. They're going to choose card 1 and they're going to follow the instructions. And I want to see how easily they can see where those dots go in those spaces. Then they're going to jump over page 24 and they're going to go to page 25, take out the green triple rhythm cards, and they're going to copy, choose 1, copy it, choose 3 more cards, and copy them. It's simply getting clear about how to copy. Now, one thing about copying, when they're copying the blue notation cards, it's important that they draw the circle so that it touches this line and this line, but it doesn't go over them, and then they fill it in. Same for here. And the same for here, that it's touching that line. So, mi, do. So I'm careful that it's not too big or too little. Copying the green cards, they don't need a staff. They just need that box that they've provided. When they're doing 3 eighth notes, which are the do, da, dee, first I draw the 3 lines. Then I add the dots. The dots need to be filled in. And the bar is simply a single line that took very little time. They're going to spend too much time if they do this instead. And they don't fill them in, but they should fill them in. So you want to make sure that they are filled in. And then you'll see a lot of them do this. And then they take, a zillion hours trying to fill it in. And I'm letting them know that that's not what we're looking for. It's simply 3 down, 3 around, and a beam. The other one that they are going to practice drawing is the quarter note, which I'm calling do, followed by an eighth note, which is D in this place. And someone in class said, oh yeah, that's the one with its own little tail. Now the tail can just simply be that. They don't need to, I'm going to get a couple who want to, do that kind of thing. Doesn't need to do it now. They just need to add a tail. That's basically it for this week. I hope they have fun at the piano, but I hope that all that their hard work will come back with them when they rejoin me next week with all smiles and completed homework assignments.